Hey everybody, welcome to Spontaneous. I'm your host Phoebe Mack, and on today's show, which I'm excited about, I get to introduce you guys to Michael D. Horton, a living legend from our community, Cabrini Green, aka Skeeter. He wrote a book called Hoop Till It Hurts, and we're gonna get into it. So please go out there and copy you a book. You will not be disappointed. Let's get into it. Mentor, coach, counselor, father, brother, cousin, friend. Welcome to Spontaneous, everybody. Come on, clap for him. Michael D. Horton, Hoop Till It Hurts. Thank you, cousin, for coming to my space to promote your book. And so, how do you feel today?
Well, I feel great. First and foremost, I want to say I wrote this book to maybe just to tell a little story, get a few things off my chest. As it's stated in the book, it's not specifically an autobiography. It's just excerpts of my life to tell a story and to deliver a message. But one of the things I'm most proud of, and this is where you come in as a part of that, is that people who've known me for years, they are supporting me. Those that even know my story and know where I come from, they're reading it, they're processing it, and then they're supporting me. So that makes me feel much better than even the sales of the book, right? Just to knowing that I have people still behind me. As far as writing a book, I felt like it was therapeutic, right? I was able to tell a story, get some things off my chest, and I feel like it's brought me even closer to my family.
Let's talk about coach. Tell me how you feel in that role.
When I was growing up, you know, some people work or whatever, but I played sports. And for me, my coaches were role models. They were men that I saw actually going to work and being productive and supporting other young people. And because of the impact that they had on my life, I thought that that would be an opportunity for me to have the same impact on younger people. Playing sports would be it. And because I did play sports, I didn't reach the level of skill or potential that I should reach, right? Because of a lot of different factors. If I can actually learn, develop, and then share some of the things about the game that I didn't receive, that the younger people that I'm working with, they can excel and maybe reach their highest level of potential. So I relish in the fact of being a coach because, like I said, I have an opportunity to be with students. I have an opportunity, young people and students, I have an opportunity to be with them outside of, let's say, maybe the classroom or away from their families, where I can give back to them and give a little bit of who I am, especially the positive pieces that I can share with them so that they can reach their full potential.
And to me, coach also aligns with mentor. Mentorship is a little bit different than coach, right? Because you were coaching in sports, the game of basketball, which we know, Hoop Till It Hurts, go cop that book, is connected. So now let's talk about mentor, you as the mentor.
So I look at the mentor piece as a little bit more individualistic, right? Mm-hmm. So as a coach, I'm working with a team of people. I work with them individually, but I work with a team of people. As a mentor, I try to pour into the young people with, you know, just insight, and this is where I'm meeting them individually where they are. Because some people are, you know, two parents, academically focused, but then you may have a young person that's going through a lot of things and don't have that support as family or even at school. So mentoring is a little bit, for me, more of a one-on-one situation, okay, right? Trying to guide people.
And then counselor. In a school, now this is a little bit deeper, counseling. Let's talk about it.
Without even knowing, I created a narrative of the Hoop Till It Hurts mentality, even as a kid, right? I always wanted to be in a situation where I can help people, and I went through a few different phases of how I can support. Mm-hmm. And I always came to like juvenile probation, like after the fact. And I was like, no, I need to get in front of this, right, to support people. And so when I went to school, again, I didn't think about being a counselor, but then it hit me. This is a way to impact them academically, socially, and then help them prepare for whatever their futures may entail. So I love it. I love my job. I go to work every day, and I feel like for a lot of people, dealing with the young people is kind of stressful, but not for me, right? You can see, it's vivid that they're missing some things, they're missing some support, they need guidance, even though they fight it sometimes, but I enjoy it because I can see their development and their growth over the time that they're at the school.
Okay. I appreciate that and thank you. But now I want to dive into the book without giving too much because you got to go copy your own, okay? Once again, Hoop Till It Hurts by Michael D. Horton. One thing you talked about, and I've seen this for myself, you talked about this a lot in the book, and it is rare, so I definitely want to give you props for this. Talk about your choice to not indulge even though you were in the environment.
Over the years, a lot of traumatic things happened, and for me, I just associated it with drug and alcohol abuse. So I thought the only way for me to get away from that and to have the lifestyle that I wanted, I had to refrain. I had to fight it. And then just over the years, it just became a part of who I am. It became a part of my character. And I just decided I'm never going to do it. And up to this point, I have not.
In the book, you talked about insecurities. And for me, seeing you, younger child watching you, I just always looked up to you, right? And a lot of us did because you were doing things so different. We wouldn't even realize that you were internally struggling like that. Let's talk about that internal insecurity.
Yes. I guess I had to put on that face, but as I was writing, I realized that like I battled a lot of insecurities. I didn't feel proud about who I was or like even my family. Just staying involved in sports, like things like that to help me forget about what was going on at home. But I just had to find a way, and the best way for me was to stay in school, stay a part of a team. But the insecurities came from just seeing the things around me, just like the familial support that some people had. Their parents were there, mom and dad are coming to their games, and I didn't have any of that, and I just felt like I'm inferior, right? I realized I felt inferior, and I put on a face like I didn't, but I really felt that way.
You guys are going to have to go and get your own copy, but I'm just going to give this one part. You had a person in your life, and I quote said, educated dummy. How did that make you feel then, and how do you feel about that today, and how was that relationship with that person today?
Back then, I didn't really feel the hurt, right? I just felt like a lot of what we were taught, especially the young men, is you got to be tough, right? You got to tough it out. People say things that it doesn't bother you. You don't cry about it. You don't complain. You just continue to move on. That's a resilient piece, a resilience piece that I enjoy about our community. However, once you dig deep into it, it could be detrimental. So I heard that statement, and I just use it as motivation. Like I can show what I can do, and this is not going to be my case. But then as I got older, and especially during the time even writing the book, I realized that person stated that not to even really put me down, but that was the life that they led. They led the street life. They were out there immersed into the neighborhood culture, and they felt like if you were less than that or doing something different, you were an outcast. So I think maybe they said it just blowing off some steam, but I don't think that they really meant it. Especially being my family, right? The ironic thing about it is most of my family have read the book. No one seems to know or has owned up to being that person who stated that, right? But because it's my story, I know it was stated. And I look at it this way, especially now with them not even knowing that they said it. They didn't believe that, they didn't mean that, but at the time it hurt and it was motivational. But as of right now, the relationship is great, but I would never divulge that. Our relationship is great. I use it for what it was, a source of motivation, and it is my hope, and I just try to always see the good in everybody, that's why they stated that, to hopefully motivate me, which I didn't need that, but I just look at it as that was probably their intention.
This is a great segue to talk about accountability, because you also talked about that in your book, and that will be grand for that person just to apologize to you and take accountability for that, because what they said was not right to a child that they supposed to be in the community to help raise. So major life change in your life as a teenager, and the things that you did to take accountability at that young age, considering the lack of resources you had, a lot of the things I would never think that you felt that way, because you held yourself so well. So great job for that, considering. So let's talk about that accountability piece.
And I'm going to go back to the statement that was made. Again, it was my story. So when something impacts you in a certain way, positive or negative, you remember that. You take it in. So for the person who said that, it didn't have the same impact. So that's probably why they don't remember. And therefore, they will probably not apologize for that. Which, again, for me, I'm at a place where that's okay. You don't need to apologize. I've seen over the years how they've supported me and been there for me. So that's my apology, right? The consistency of support that's my apology. The situation that happened during my teen years, and not give too much about it. Most people that know me know that I had a son. He was born my freshman year in college. So right when I went away, came back at Christmas Day, as a matter of fact, he was born.
What a gift. Huh?
What a gift. What a gift. So for me, it gave me an opportunity to grow up with someone that I was responsible for. And that's why, so it shifted from me just wanting to leave my situation growing up that was a struggle, and now that I'm becoming a man, and now I'm responsible for somebody who doesn't have the power or ability to take care of themselves. So I just tried to revert back to all the things that I thought that I needed from a parent and try to pour that into him, and then any and everything else that I learned along the way to try to be the best father I could be.
It's not about money. If you got time for your child, whether we're together or not, we are a community. We should be raising the child together. But you had some mishaps with that.
I'm going to flip it a little bit. So as an educator and a father and someone who cares about young people and them having the opportunity to reach their potential, I'm going to flip that answer and I'll respond this way. When adults talk to young people who work with young people, we talk to them about not, using birth control or abstaining. We don't want people to get involved in situations where they're bringing in children when they're not ready. And the mindset is they think when we say you're not ready from financial. No, as you'll read in this book, there's a lot more that goes into it from the psychological, from the day-to-day conflicts and the pulling of the kid each and every way, right? So now you're damaging someone who had nothing to say about being here. So I think that unpreparedness is a big issue. And then for myself personally, which is why I only have one kid, I wasn't prepared at that moment. So I was like, I'm not going to do this again until I'm prepared. I have a little more restraint for myself, right? And a little discipline. So I was like, I won't have another kid. And it just so happens I got older and started doing so many other things. I never had another kid, but that was the mindset. I'm going to do this when I'm ready. So in terms of that, with the mom, and I said it in the book, and I say this to her all the time, I was dealing with my demons, and I was still trying to make a way for myself. So I was away at school. She did a wonderful job of raising my kids those first 4 years, right? So I applaud that. I had nothing, right? I had nothing. At the same time, what I realized, she needed support, so she had to do what she needed to do, and that's how we ended up in the court system. Right now, we have a great relationship. We have a great kid. He's very successful. Like, all of the things that I wanted to happen. It's just that those first few years was rough, and like I said, without giving too much, there were some ups and downs, trials, tribulations that we had to go through, but it turned out for the benefit of both of us.
And although you gave a lot in this book, the semi-biography, you're still going to have to wait for the next one because there's more to come. Let's talk about PWIs. That's a predominantly white institution.
Yeah.
The transition, coming from where you come from to a PWI.
It's just weird because over the years in terms of school, I was able to do a little better, but it was a cultural shock. So going to my elementary school, I have to shout out Munir, we all looked the same neighborhood, we all grew up together. But then when I matriculated to Sullivan High School, it was a little more diverse. Mm-hmm. So this kind of prepared me for what's next. But going up to northern Minnesota, you see only a handful of people that look like us, and they're all primarily there for the same thing in terms of playing sports. Their lifestyle is different, where they come from, the things they eat, talk about, dress, it's all different. But I just continued to focus on why I'm here, right? It wasn't, I need to do this because I have to go to school here. There's many schools, but I thought that was the best place for me. And then from a personal standpoint, I wanted to be there because I wanted to, you hear, I've never been inflicted with like face-to-face racism, but governmental structure, there are some things that, I've come across and inflicted my life that I can go to school with people who have money, people who are from different areas of the country, people who have perfect SAT scores, right? I wanted to show that I can actually fit in and survive and even excel in this type of environment. So then it became a challenge. I started, over the course of my life, I started using everything as a challenge. Whatever came to my son's situation, I can overcome this. Being here with all of these people that are much more affluent than I am, I can survive here. So I just took everything as a challenge, and then I was like, I will not be defeated.
We oftentimes become the only, right? The only us in a classroom, the only us, etc. What type of situations did you overcome even with that part, being the only?
I'll even go back to the graduation, right? So it's just, when you're going through the recession, you're walking up, you get into your seat, you're going to get your diploma. So, and then they got the video showing, right? And so you can look at the video. So as it pans down on the crowd, the students that are graduate, and you see 3 or 4 people of color, right? It's like, wow. At that point, it's felt like it's an epiphany. Like, I overcame so much, not just getting the diploma, but I overcame systemic racism. I overcame opportunities that most people that I grew up with didn't even receive. So I was like, that was a proud moment. But while I was there, like I said, there was a few of us, sprinkles of us, but I just I never felt like I didn't belong.
Right, okay.
And I think that's successful in itself, because if you feel like you don't belong, you're not going to stay in that environment. And that's why a lot of our people don't finish school or don't finish some of the goals that they have for themselves because they don't feel like they belong, or they feel inferior, and then they feel like no one is supporting that, so then they usually walk away. But I never really felt that way.
Give the people 3 things to help them if they're in a situation like that.
I would say this: you just have to understand, like, what's your end goal, right? If it's graduating from high school, if that's your goal, there are going to be things that come along the way. Oh, I don't have bus fare today, or this class is hard. Then that'll guide you to tutoring or guide you to being with a mentor. Number 2, get involved in something that you enjoy. The book is named Hoop Till It Hurts, but it doesn't really, it's not a basketball story, right? It's Hoop Till It Hurts to me. Hoop Till It Hurts, the word hoop is more like just symbolic of life, right? Because I look at basketball as a microcosm of life. Hoop is just whatever it is you do, you stay in it. It may be painful, you may have to go through some things, but at the end of the day, it's going to get you to where you need to be. And lastly, have a mentor. Have a mentor. Someone that you know have gone through the struggles or gone through the same path that you're trying to endure, and then they can help guide you, right? And then you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Because if you don't see where you're going, sometimes you're gonna walk away because it looks too dark. So make sure you have someone in your corner that you can talk to about where you're trying to go.
You talked a lot about your mom. As I was reading, I kept saying, why you ain't say nothing, right?
Yeah.
You were just so structured within your own self, considering, right? If your mom was here today, or do you have any regrets? What would you say to your mom and both your dads?
I don't know if there's regrets, but there's one thing. I feel like I reached a level of success determined by what I was looking to do. I just wish I could share that with them, right?
Yes.
I never had an opportunity to be fully developed, as I would say, and able to share that back with them. But in terms of the relationship, there's no ill will. I knew that I figured out later as I studied and went to school and observed my community that my mom was going through things that it was a sickness, right? So it was never personal. As I was growing up, as I stated in the book, a lot of the things I took personal, but I would let her know if she was still around that it wasn't personal. I understand, and let's share the fruits of our labor and our relationship right now as we should. The relationships that I had with, and you mentioned my 2 dads, my mom, but also my grandmother, right? Those people were the cornerstone of everything that I have, everything that has made me become successful. So I just wish I could share it with them.
Have you ever just snapped out?
Well,
I'm telling you guys.
I think a part of my story in the book kind of tells that is the reason that I was able to get to this point was self-discipline, right? But we all have our days where we have to let it go. And I tell my students at my school, just to kind of flip the switch, I'm 2 people, right? From 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock, I'm Mr. Horton, right? And then from 3 o'clock to like 7 o'clock, I'm Coach Horton. And those are not the same people. And that's why I still stay involved in basketball, right?
Okay.
That's my stress release, right? As a coach or even at playing at this age, it's my stress relief, and that's how I get away. A little more self-control and discipline, and that's how I keep it from snapping.
Besides basketball, how are you taking care of yourself mentally?
Well, you're right about that. The first thing is self-care, right? We can't do what we do for others if we don't have self-care. Now, when I'm at school, when I'm at work, when I'm serving the youth, I'm really with young people, adult-like people, right? With the exception of on the weekend. And a lot of times I use that time playing basketball. Being with men and having these conversations and bonding, these are the things that get me through the days and the tough times.
Right.
And of course, family time, right?
And you still have a relationship with one of your mentors too that I always pay attention to. Let's talk
sure.
about you continuing into being mentored yourself.
Yes, if you're speaking about Vince Carter, because he had a little more passion for people who were struggling, right? He was there to help everybody, but he probably saw me as one of those young people with some potential. He was an educator. I don't have the discipline to be a teacher as he was, but he was my motivation. And so now, still sit on the board of directors, of Project Education Plus. I'm no longer coaching one of the teams.
Exactly. So we're going to give a shout out to Mr. Vince Carter. Thank you for being a part of Michael D. Horton's tribe, right?
Yes.
Okay. I want you to talk about Hoop Till It Hurts. You have a foundation. Talk about it.
And primarily what we do is, again, my big thing is to keep young people involved, provide uniforms, opportunities to play. We pay fees for teams. We pay fees for individuals. We host free basketball camps. I feel like that's the next phase of giving back to young people. What we do at our foundation is support young people staying in the game. The difference in what we do is from a lot of other organizations. What we're trying to do is just keep people in the game, you're going to come across a coach, an assistant coach, a trainer, or someone who could serve as a mentor. What we do is just provide opportunities for you to stay in the game and continue on to develop until you figure out what you want to do.
Okay, and what's that website? Tell everybody.
It's hooptillithurtsfoundation.org. hooptillithurtsfoundation.org.
So in regards to Hoop Till It Hurts, what made you just go and just write this book?
When I was in college, like I said, one of my professors thought, you should tell your story. Once she found out I was from the Cabrini area and going to school in northern Minnesota. And over the years, I actually started writing years ago. And I felt like, and I actually tried to have it published, and I got it sent back, basically. And it was basically, I just told things in sequential order, right? But then last summer, I was like, again, just a challenge of myself. It's like, I need to do something to challenge myself to kind of change the trajectory of what's going on in my life. So it's like, you know what? I think it's time for me to bring the book back. Like, so I decided I had a message to tell. And again, and it's in the book. I didn't feel like at the time that people would even want to buy the book. And that was a part of my insecurities. But then I thought about, it's not about other people. It's about me getting this out. So I used all of last summer. I sat down, I would write. I was doing notes in my phone, out at a restaurant, writing on napkins, sitting on the computer while I'm watching a football game. But then I was just like, you know what? I'm going to put this together. And even after I completed it, I'm working with a publisher, I was apprehensive. Every day I was asking her, what do you think? You know what? No, I don't want to do it. What do you think? So we even delayed actually putting it out because that was me dealing with the insecurities again. I knew that this story had to be told because again, I work with students. So I'm in a school every day. So I'm seeing 200-300 people that are going through something in life. And again, I don't know everybody's details. I know that some people are going through things that are familiar with what I went through. Drug abuse, low income, homelessness, or whatever the situation was. It was like someone needs to hear this story of resilience so that they don't give up on themselves or give up on what's going on around them. So a lot of the stuff I was able to divulge was about my family.
How did the family really feel about you going and telling the story?
So what I did was I kind of told everybody that I was going to do this. And then before it came out, I wrote everybody a letter, right? It was to everybody. I put it in the group chat. I kind of talked about the family reunion. I just said, hey, there are some things that I want to talk about. And you're going to hear some things about your mother, brother, sister, uncle that happened in their life. But here's the thing. This is my story. My story. I wanted the focus to be on me and my story and the role that people play, but they are not the story, right? I didn't want anybody to feel that way. So some people were like, I want to read it just to see what you say about me, or they're looking at it like you're going to say something negative or what stories you're going to tell, and I wouldn't tell them anything. I was just like, you'll find out, you'll be able to read it. And I think it started out as fear, but everybody that have read the book, I was like, I'm not going to tell. And then like the older ones, like you just get positive feedback, like I'm glad you did this. And there's a few people that stated to me, oh, I found out so much about you, because I think there was a misconception of me and what I went through and what I was going through. And then now I think that helped them understand me better.
I recall when we were at the last gathering together and you were talking about it, because I think you wanted to get some feedback from outside of your immediate family. And I was like, go for it. You got to tell your story. Can't nobody tell you what to do with you.
Exactly.
So I'm happy that you did this and you shared some of the things that I knew. And we appreciate you. So give your plugs, tell the world about your book, where to buy it, and thank you for joining us on Spontaneous. We appreciate you. Well, there you have it, people. Hoop till it hurts. No matter what you're doing, continue to your goal. And so I want to say thank you for tuning in on Spontaneous, where you never know what we'll be talking about or what we'll be doing.